Chris Avena with American Outdoor News. Today we're here with Everett Headley, the guide and outfitter liaisons for Safari Club International, and it's you are just chock full of information for every hunter out there in this episode.
Well, I appreciate that, Chris, and happy to be on. And yeah, I love getting guys in the field. So whatever we got to do more of that, we are prepped and ready to do that at SCI.
Well, I know SCI covers so many different aspects of the outdoor industry, and this is just another facet that is really an aid to people who are looking to book hunts.
Hmm.
For somebody who's never booked with an outfitter, what advice would you give them off the top of your head?
Well, we're jumping right into that. There's a lot that you can do to protect yourself as a client. If you've never been on a guided hunt, you've never been on a ranch somewhere, or if you've never been to Africa, there's a lot of questions that you have. And I know Barbara over at our Hunter Information Services, she's got a lot of stuff that she can cover specifically for you, but sometimes you just don't know what you don't know, and so it's really good to find a place to start where somebody can begin to explain those things for you. And you know what I do with Safari Club International, working with guides and outfitters throughout the world, I can definitely give you some tips and some thoughts on where you're going and what you want to do. And that's really where I start with guys. And I just say, what's the experience you're looking for? Because we can do it from the wilderness of Mozambique to some pretty nice places in the Western United States that you can have a little bit of glamping, a little bit of pampering if that's what you're wanting to. So
Yeah,
there's a there's a wide swath, right? And guys just got to tell me like what it is you want.
yeah. There's outfitters that are really five-star resorts. They feed you well. You're in uh, great rooms, comfortable beds, and they'll knock on your door and say, "It's time to wake up. Come on, let's
Right.
get out to the field."
Right, right. And I think some places in Southern Africa they're really well known for that. Places I've been in Namibia are just incredible five-star resorts. And so it can be fun to bring, if the wife doesn't hunt like mine, it's nice for her to come and get some spa treatments and do some sightseeing and whatever else she wants to do while I'm out in the bush trying to find whatever critter's next on my list, right?
Yeah. Now, how does somebody go about um, picking an outfitter? How do they vet it? What questions do you ask?
Yeah.
Because it's very easy to make a mistake and give you a real bad taste to going with outfitters.
Yeah, the first thing I probably tell somebody is call their local agency that licenses or governs guides, outfitters, professional hunters in that area. So, in Africa, they use the term professional hunter, and in just about every country, you'll find a PH association that you can call and ask if this guy's licensed. Does he have any ethics concerns? Is he on the concession that he's telling me he has rights to? So you can do a little bit of vetting that way. If you're in North America, there are guide outfitter associations that you can do the same thing, find out if they're licensed. And I think those are keys that you need to start right there. And once you know that somebody has all the right paperwork in order, I think calling them up and talking to them directly, getting on a Zoom call, or even better, you can come to the SCI convention. We've got hundreds of guides and outfitters from all over the world that you can sit down, have a conversation with, get a burger next
Sure.
door, and really see, is this the kind of personality and person that you want to spend 4, 5, 10 days in the bush with, and so you can kind of get to know them. But it's definitely important to be doing your homework because right now we're seeing a rise in websites being spoofed. So they just
Yeah.
copy somebody's website and change the payment information, and all of a sudden a guy's dropping 15K on a moose hunt in Canada, and he shows up and there's no moose, and that's not the right address. And now this guy's out 15,000 bucks. Like that happens so often that we've put out best practices for potential clients, but also for all of our guides and outfitters throughout the world that you've just got to be doing some diligence.
Yeah, you don't want to be wiring money right off the bat because hey, the trip's going to be $10,000. Wire it to me. We'll get you all set. No, you
Right.
you, you
Yeah,
got to
we
be a little cautious.
Well, you do, right? Because once a wire's gone, you can't claw that back. And so I really say pay in two steps, do a deposit, whatever that is, that minimal $1,000 or $2,000, and secure your spot. But if somebody is asking for full payment right up front, I might pause a little bit before I do that. Because
That's a red flag right away.
right, yeah, it is.
What about detailed questions? I know going to shows is so much better. Um, going to SCI or Great American Outdoor Show, and even your local shows, where you can actually sit down with an outfitter
Hmm.
and you ask you questions, you sit down, you get to know the person. Even your personalities might not match.
Right.
So that could turn into a great hunt or a bad hunt.
Yeah, I think what everybody wants is at the end of the trip that you've moved beyond the business to a friendship, right? Where you can talk throughout the year, reminisce on what's going on. The business wants to have repeat customers, and so they're
Yeah.
really aiming to have that relationship grow through this. And I think hunters want to go back and re-experience places that they've been or have somebody in that particular country that they can trust to say,
Hmm.
I'm looking for something just a little bit different. Can you help me out? And they already know that they're going to provide the service that they've done before. And so you've built that trust, right? And I think that begins with a handshake. And gosh, I just don't know a better place than at the convention to do that.
Yeah. And it don't matter if you're trying to book a pheasant hunt in South Dakota or you want to go across the world to Africa or Spain or
Right.
just to know, like Spain, um, there's that tax you're paying on what you pay for the trip.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, Even if you win it at an auction or something along those lines, where you're getting a great deal on the hunt, you still have that tax. That
Yeah, I think they call it the value added tax, the VAT, I think is what it is. And we call it sales tax here in the States, but it can be a surprise, right? And I think that's especially when you're traveling internationally, it's something to be asking about. What are some fees? What are things that aren't listed in the hunt that I really need to know about? Because if it's not in the contract that you've signed, then the responsibility is on the client, right? To know and to pay for those. So, you might have export fees, you might have freight that you have to ship. You need to think
Mhm.
about your trophies when you're done. How are you going to take care of those? And certainly, a good guide, outfitter, PH, they're going to help you with that. They're going to have
Yeah.
recommendations. But it for somebody who's not been there before, it might be a surprise to watch out for.
Yeah, even you go to Africa, you could have your taxidermy done there and
Hmm.
ship it back uh, as a finished product. Or
Yep.
you want it done here. There's another process to go through.
There is. And I think that's probably a preference on the hunter, right? I dip and ship mine mainly because I don't have a lot of wall space right now to put my trophies, so I'm not sure where things are going. And my wife calls this an Everett problem, right? Uh this is not really something to be complaining about, but I have my trophies here that I still got to figure out how I'm going to put them on the wall and what poses and whatnot. So I tend to just dip and ship right now.
So you just throw it in the freezer until you decide what you're gonna do.
Yeah, it's at my taxidermist, and I send her a monthly payment, and I just tell her that, when there's something due, let me know. And but let's take our time. And I don't mind waiting a little bit because, again, I don't know where things are gonna go. So but I
Yeah.
definitely know, I'm not going to Africa and bringing stuff back and then not keeping that memory, right?
Yeah. So you really deciding how big of an extension you're putting on your house right now?
Yeah, we got caught in the COVID low rate, and so we're in a house that we like to be in, but it's not the forever home, right? And so I'm hunting towards the forever home and filling that. And my wife, she's really supportive, thankfully, but we're still not in that place yet. But daggum if I'm not hunting like I am.
Sure. Hey, it's the season that we all wait for. So
Yep, yep.
I just got back from, as we were discussing earlier, I was up in the Adirondack last weekend, and it's still a little warm. Didn't see a lot of movement, but it was still great to get some tree stand therapy.
Right. Yeah, it totally is. I'm headed out this weekend for Eastern Montana antelope, which will
Nice.
probably be my only North American hunt this fall. Because as soon as I get back from that, I'm headed to New Zealand, and before anybody starts to feel sorry for me, I'll make sure to have a little bit of fun while I'm down there. But from New Zealand, I head to Scotland, and Scotland to Africa, and
Wow.
it's part of my role to meet with all these associations wherever they are. They have their annual business meetings, and so I bring the SCI mission, history, focus to them and say, this is what we're doing. These are the advocacy efforts that we've put in place, whether it's in the States or all over the world. And then I invite them to join us where we're at and how we're doing that and to fight that common fight together. And then while I'm on the ground, I get to listen to what's actually happening to them. So I just spent 3 weeks in Zambia, and I went and visited several different camps while I was there, which was an incredible experience on its own. I was driving through the bush in this Toyota Hilux, and I felt like I was in 1920s safari again, just kind of making my way and dodging elephants and seeing game everywhere. But while I was there, I got to see just how big some of these game management areas are. And they use
Oh yeah.
anti-poaching camps to help keep that at bay, but radios don't work. There's no cell phone signal. And so we're working on GPS units to get to these anti-poaching staff so they can make real-time reporting and do real-time interdiction on poachers that they find, and then getting that and reporting it to the authorities. And so that's something that, if you're not on the ground and you're not traveling through these areas and just seeing how big of an area they have to cover, it just doesn't translate to 50 by 70 square miles, right? But once you've driven 9 hours to cross one area, it makes a whole lot more sense why we need to get like these GPS units in the hands of these scouts.
Yeah.
And I get to do that, right? Which is an incredibly cool opportunity for me, but it's something that within the hunting community we absolutely need too, because these are the front lines to conservation, and we need to get them the tools and the support that they need in order to be more effective.
We need to work in Starlink somehow, some way.
Yep, Starlink is a real option, and Elon's making it cheaper and cheaper, which is great. And I carried one with me when I was over there, and it actually saved my tail a couple of times, so that was nice to have. But there's a real cost there, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
and it's something though that is I think going to be an incredibly effective tool for gosh, especially guys who spend 2, 3 weeks at a time. They're in these cinder block huts that they make, and their job
Yeah.
is to just go out and scout their area every day and report back in. And they deal with rogue elephants, and they deal with lions while they're out there, and specifically in Zambia. But they're also away from their families,
Yeah.
and that can get lonely after a couple 3 weeks when you're in the bush, right? So
No, sure.
nice for them to check back into. So there's a lot that we can be doing with things like Starlink.
Now, uh, you part of your position is traveling overseas to, these different
Mhm.
locations and vetting and checking and doing. But what about North America? I mean, we have such vast lands and so much game. Like me from New York, I have to apply for different um, tags and accumulate preference points. And is there a way to simplify all this?
Gosh, I wish there were. North America with our draw systems, every state's different, right? So, if it's Idaho, it's a totally random system to draw for their licenses. Montana, we have bonus points. Wyoming, you get preference points. And I mean, and every state is different, species regulation. And if you're not playing the game right, you don't have an opportunity to win. So you have to know when those start and when those applications are due. And the reward on the other side is you get some incredible hunt opportunities, right? Like
Oh yeah.
New Mexico, we have the opportunity to hunt oryx. Florida, there's sandbar deer, and then throughout the western states, you get into moose, sheep, goat, elk, antelope, which are my personal favorites. But if you don't know the draw systems, right, you don't have those opportunities. And I think a lot of listeners are miss out because they just don't know, right? And so
Yeah.
first application season starts, I think, November 1 with Alaska. They're first. And so we're not even done with a lot of our fall seasons yet. And we're starting to apply for 2026 licenses. And so I would encourage I'd encourage hunters to look at opportunities that might be out west and think about it because it can take years of building up the necessary points in order to draw that elk tag in Colorado, right? 5, 10, 15 points for some of these premier units, which are frankly once in a lifetime opportunities. But when you're there and you're seeing animals and you're seeing landscapes and you're having an experience that so few people really get, it makes it worth it, right? And
Yeah.
all those license fees and application fees, they can become a little bit of a pain, but if you remember, they all go back into conservation and they get matched 3-1 from the federal government from the PR dollars. It makes this sting a little less painful. But yeah, if you don't play, you can't win, right?
Yeah. So how does one go about applying for these permits, say in Colorado for elk?
Yeah. Yeah. I think your first stop is to the website for the state wildlife agency that manages, right? So Colorado Parks and Wildlife, going to their website and seeing, okay, when's the application period? When is that open? And then begin to look at what experience are you wanting? Do you want to get to the woods as quickly as possible? Because there's some over-the-counter opportunities that you can just go and buy the tag tomorrow and then hunt the next day, right? And so you can look at that and you can grow from there and say, well, I really want to wait and I want to invest the time and the points into something more premier, right? And
Mhm.
and then now you're looking at maybe 15 years of applying, which, you know, um, is real time. So
Yeah.
you got to start planning for that. And then, there's a lot of opportunity that you can do in the meantime. Maybe you're in Montana, and it only takes a year or two to get the non-resident preference point that you need to draw that license. So now you're beginning to learn how to hunt elk a little bit more so that when you do get to that big tag you've been waiting 2 decades for in Colorado, you've got a little bit of experience under your belt so that you're not just going in cold. So
Yeah.
first step I tell people is go to that state wildlife agency, see what you need to do, and then learn how to draw that system. And you can go on YouTube and search the internet. There's plenty of people and places out there that will give you advice. I think everybody who draws has their own little secret weapon or their little thing that they keep tucked away that helps to keep them successful. I used to get a couple of antelope buck tags in Wyoming every year, and I loved it to do that. And then 2 years ago, they took that away, and so now you can only get one. But that was my secret weapon for a long time, uh, and so I still think about that one. But there's more hunting to be had in other states, right?
What about like nuisance permits? Are there
Yeah.
landowner nuisance permits that somebody can try and apply for?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit more difficult one. I think it's definitely there. There are, specifically in Montana, we have some opportunity which are urban hunts. And I remember being in Roundup, Montana, and hunting with my bow on a golf course. And the golf course had closed for the season. But I had been walking around, hole 9 or whatever, and I stopped and sat on one of their old lounge chairs and I thought, this is a little weird. I'm hunting deer, but I'm sitting on a golf course watching, birds fly around and whatnot.
Yep.
So I think every state does have something like that, but you're going to have to really dig for it. They're often not publicized heavily because there's not a lot of those tags available. But you're
Yeah.
also going to have to deal with very specific requirements to hunt. But if you do some digging, I do think there's gems out there to be found.
We do have something like that on Long Island where I am.
Mm,
Um, Believe it or not, we have a huge deer population.
yeah,
And Boone and Crockett deer,
yeah.
you could shoot a 150-inch deer. Um, but the private land or the
Mhm.
public land to hunt is, it's kind of limited. And, you want to hunt public land, knock yourself out. Um, but a lot of people hunt on small parcels, two
Mhm.
acre, people who have 2 acre house or whatever, you could set up in their yard and shoot a deer.
Yeah.
Uh, Not my thing. I'm never going to knock how somebody chooses to hunt. For me, the hunting camp is half the experience. You
It
you
it is.
don't get that hunting in somebody's backyard.
Yeah, yeah. I remember there was a TV show some years back about urban deer hunting back east somewhere,
Yeah, it
and I
was in
forget,
Connecticut.
was that where it was? And I
Yeah,
thought, I don't know if that's quite for me, but also I'd rather that be the method of management than trying to do something else, right? I think, let
yeah,
a hunter pay for the license, let them take home the meat, let them deal with the whole process. It doesn't cost the taxpayer anything. I think there's win-win-win all around that, right? Uh,
yeah. I mean, you could keep turning in your tag
hmm.
and get another one
Yeah,
to, and it's all about culling the herd because there are
right.
so many deer here, and they're providing a valuable service, and they donate a lot of meat to food banks and things of that nature. So they're
Yep.
serving a really great service.
Yeah, totally agree.
But for me, I'd rather drive the 4 or 5 hours and be in deer camp.
Yeah, there's something you just can't get away from when you're in deer camp, right? And I think the escape into it is something I think we all dream about throughout the year. And once we're there, yeah, I don't think you can replace that. But I don't think you have to. I think you're a both and situation, right? You can do deer camp and find other opportunities. And I think white-tailed deer you can hunt every month of the year if you really tried. So there's places you can go.
Yeah, there is. There is. What's your favorite hunt?
That's a great question. If you're talking North America, pronghorn antelope out on the prairie all day long. I just absolutely love that. The hunt can be as difficult as you want it to be, or if you want to be over in an hour, you probably could, especially in Wyoming. There's a lot of antelope. And they're my favorite to put in the freezer and put on my plate. So I love antelope, caribou, just because of where they're at and the watching the herd migration. That's also probably number two for North America. But daggum, if it's hard to beat the plains of Africa and see just the plains game and the variety and where they're at. And there's something that will always be intensely romantic about being out in a place like that. So,
Yep.
it's hard to say if you made me choose which one. I'd probably I don't know if I could, Chris. I don't know, but kudu out on the plains and just watching them is pretty magical.
Yeah, I haven't gotten my kudu yet. I'm gonna have to book another trip to get back over there.
Oh yeah.
Uh, I mean, Africa's spectacular. It's very nostalgic.
Hmm.
I grew up going to Sagamore Hill on
Oh
school
wow.
trips, going to Teddy
Yeah.
Roosevelt's house, and
Yeah.
that's where I got my bug to get into hunting. My family wasn't into hunting. My uncle was, and he took me on my first hunt.
Yeah.
But going to Sagamore Hill and seeing all those trophies and African animals and just it was inspiring.
Well, I think TR would approve, right? He loved being in Africa and back when they did it, they just went, right? And they went for months at a time and they cut new roads and uh it's hard to find anything like that today,
Yeah, there were
but
no lodges. They were just setting up a
no.
tent and
Yeah,
That
and
was
if
it.
you've been there, if you've been to like Eastern Africa and you've been through the humidity and the rains and the tsetse flies and you're dealing with everything else, and then you go back to your air-conditioned lodge and tent at the end of the evening, and you think about what Roosevelt and Hemingway and everybody before them went through, you just think these guys they had it rough. And if you've dealt with tsetse flies, then you just kind of wonder how people made it back then. It was intense.
It really was. And, we're lucky. They blazed the trail for us to make it easier.
They did, yeah. And but I think a lot of hunters, especially me, you want to earn it, right? You want to
Yeah.
go through the pain and what we call in the military the suck of it all, because once you've done that and you've come out on the other side, there's a personal satisfaction that doesn't come in any other way, right?
Yeah.
So, and sometimes we don't know what we're asking for, but we still do.
Yeah. I tell you, I was there a while back. I darted a rhino, and that
Mm,
was my first dangerous game animal.
yeah.
And I'll tell you something, I was nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a completely different hunt than hunting a deer or even plains game.
Yeah. Yeah. What was it like walking up on that rhino?
Well, we were crawling through those mopane trees with the
Uh-huh.
big 2-inch spikes on them.
Yep.
And we got within 18 yards, and there were two. So when we darted it, obviously they took off, and trackers went after it. We went back to the truck and followed suit. And the second one was really keeping, he was watching his back, his buddy's back. He would not leave. And we got a couple of false charges on the truck. A couple times came within 3 feet of the truck, and uh, I think we have video of it. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's me, the cameraman, and my friend Lorraine that we were hunting with. I'm pushing over, and they're like, "Where do you want me to go?" I'm like, "I don't care, but this thing's coming right at me."
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know how you begin to get that kind of experience any other way, right? And I think in hunting, uh, there's so few opportunities like dangerous game and when I was in Mozambique last year, we were chasing Cape buffalo. And you think going in that you've got the fortitude that's needed to do that, but when you're in that position and you're chasing a wounded buff into the tall reeds that Capstick has wrote about, that you've seen other people
Yeah,
experience, you begin to wonder, can I really do this? And you're picking your way through, and it tests you, right? And I think as hunters, that's a little bit about what we're looking for, right? Can you do this?
well, y- y- there was video last year. Ralph and Vicky's son was hunting a Cape Buffalo, and this thing
Yeah.
just broke out, and the PH put him down within feet of him.
Yeah.
And I asked RJ, I'm like, did you have to change your shorts? Because I
Yeah.
know I sure as hell would have.
Yeah. And how do you fit? There is nothing else like that. And I think, I've been blessed to hunt a lot in my life, but I don't think anything's ever going to be able to top that first Cape Buffalo and everything that the emotions that I went through um, afterwards. We're coming down from that adrenaline high, and we're looking at the buffalo, and you think in that moment, um, you wish it could just last forever.
Yeah, a good friend of mine just got back from Africa this summer. He took a big Cape Buffalo with his handgun,
Oh,
and he's diehard. He's shot a bunch of animals with his handgun, and it's pretty goddamn impressive.
wow. Yeah, that's I need the long gun. Give me the long gun. If nothing else, I've got 2 feet between me and the beast that I can just say a short prayer if I have to, right? But I need my 375.
I usually try to hunt with somebody that's just not in great shape. So I just
Yeah,
got to outrun them. That's all.
yeah, that's right. That is totally right.
Oh man. So what's next for you?
I'm on my way to New Zealand in a week, and while we're down there, there's a lot of conversation being had about the tar and the chamois over there, and so I'm going to be doing a little bit of investigating there and seeing what the conservation need is, and then what does the guide outfitter community say about these herds that are there, and what can we do to balance everything out there. So I'm excited to go down and see what's up there. And then I've got a personal hunt in Scotland over on the one of the islands in the Hebrides and going to chase some red stag. So I'm very excited about
Nice.
that. That's one of the more classic hunts I think you can do in
Yeah.
the world. So I'm pretty excited to go and spend some time drinking some real not Irish, man. I'm gonna get some flack for that. Drinking some real Scottish peat whiskey on the island that it's made. And then I'm back in Africa for a handful of weeks, and they have their annual business meetings for each of
Wow.
these associations, and so I'll be meeting with them and again partnering on ways that we can continue to preserve hunting's heritage. Not here just in North America, but really throughout the world, and there's real need to do that in Africa still.
I've been seeing over the past, I don't know, 5, 6 years, the European hunts are becoming more and more popular.
Yeah, I was in the UK a couple of years ago, and I think this is something that especially North American hunters don't really know, but the affordability of traveling around the world is much easier than they think it is. Because an elk hunt in the West will go for 10, $15,000 now.
Yep.
And you can go to Africa for a couple of weeks on 10 to 15K and have the time of your life, right? So there it's not as expensive as people think it is. In the UK, they have their highest deer numbers that they've ever had in history. Coming off of COVID, they didn't have any hunters for a couple of years. I tried to get over there twice and they shut down the UK to visitors, and so I had to
Yeah.
keep postponing my trip. And when I finally went, we saw incredible amounts of their six deer species that they have just in the UK. And then when you go to the mainland, you can get into, mouflon and wild boar and some other species,
Yeah.
especially in Spain. There's so much opportunity there. And we have another show in Madrid in March called Cinehetica.
That's right.
And in that show, I'm excited to go for my first time this next year, hoping to take in a legitimate bullfight when I get over there and get that experience as well. But there's going to be a lot of exhibitors there too. So if you're looking for just an opportunity to get to Spain or to Europe and find out what you can do over there, man, I'd encourage people to listen or to your listeners to check out Cinehetica in Madrid.
Well, I would definitely recommend somebody who's contemplating taking a trip and they're not sure where. Go to
Hmm.
the SCI convention, walk around, sit down with these people, see what's in your budget,
Yep.
and even if you don't see something that is not advertised in your budget, sit down with the outfitter, especially an African outfitter.
Yeah.
You can tailor make a hunt to fit your budget,
Yep.
to fit your schedule, and you'll have the experience of a lifetime.
Well, you will, and once you've established that this is somebody you think you can spend some time with in the bush, they have short lists for cancellations and last minute hunts that
Yep.
if you have the opportunity in your schedule to do this, you can find some incredible deals on your kudu, Chris, or an
Yeah.
elephant or whatever it might be. But once you've established that relationship, then you can start to find some of those deals like that. But at the show, there are incredible deals just on the show floor, and that's why the exhibitors are there. That's why the guests are there, and it's what makes the show really just an incredible experience.
Hey, you never know where you're going to meet your next lifelong friend.
That's
And
true. That's
yeah,
true.
this industry, it's so easy to meet people that you just love to be around.
Yeah. Well, we have that commonality of hunting, right? And I think every hunter likes to be a good storyteller. So there's plenty of those to go around as well.
Yeah, some of them are fabricated, some of them actually happened.
You never know once the whiskey starts to flow, what's going to happen, right?
Absolutely. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to speak to us today and letting us know all this valuable information. If you're looking to make a hunt or just expand your horizons, there's a big world out there,
Yeah.
and there's so many things to do.
Yeah. Great
Uh,
big world out there, Chris, for sure.
but I, wish you luck on your upcoming trips. Definitely go to the SCI convention in Nashville. You will not be disappointed. It's uh, an amazing event.
Yeah.
And if you haven't subscribed to the American Outdoor News podcast, hit that subscribe button now. Hit it, give us a quick review, and we'll see you all again next week.
Thanks, Chris.